Welcome once again to the LarryInFishers.com podcast. My name is Larry Lannon. I write the LarryInFishers.com news blog, and I am very honored to have the two of the new officers, two of the main officers, and we'll talk about the others as well, for the Hamilton County Democratic Party. We have Dayna Colbert. She's from Fishers, and she is now the county chairperson. I don't know how you want to describe that, but Dayna, welcome. Good to have you here.
Yes, thank you, Larry. I am excited to be here, and I am perfectly fine with just chair.
Chair, chair works for me. Ronnie Saunders. Ronnie Saunders is from Westfield. He's now the vice chair. Ronnie, welcome. Good to have you here as well.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. And Ronnie's good.
Okay. Well, you and I had that discussion as we were talking beforehand, so we'll use first names here. I just want to mention the other officers recently elected for the Democratic Party in Hamilton County include Sarah Russell Goddard of Noblesville as the secretary and Al Moore of Carmel, the treasurer. You know, you have an interesting mix of officers. You have Dayna, who's an African-American woman. You have Ronnie, a black male. You have Al Moore as a white male. Sarah Russell Goddard is a white female. And they're all from the four main cities in Hamilton County. I assume that was by design?
Yes, it was. So I have been working as the Hamilton County Young Democrats president for a couple of years previous to this. And that was something that we heard a lot, is that there was a lot of concentration in Carmel and Fishers, but we do have Democrats further north in the county. So we wanted to make sure that we could represent the locations geographically diverse, as well as having a more diverse makeup of our central committee as well.
And Ronnie, it's interesting. You decided, all four of you, to run as a team. How did you make that decision?
Well, we just had conversations with one another, and we've known each other. Dayna and I have known each other at least a couple of years now, and then I got to know Al during my campaign and met Sarah also during the campaign last year, and we basically, just through our conversations, found that we had a lot of aligning thoughts and visions for the party as it moved forward. And so it just kind of happened organically, honestly.
So Dayna, talk about the campaign, because there was a competitive campaign. Kevin Patterson also ran as a candidate for county chair. Just talk about how you run a campaign for county chairman. Much different than even a primary or general election campaign.
Yes. So the county chair and just the central committee elections, those are voted on by our precinct chairs and our vice chairs. So these are established, strong Democrats who are organized, and they are volunteers for our party. So based on that, then we are able to have them vote and elect us. So what we did is, both Kevin and I have worked in the community for the past couple of years. We both have made great strides in working and establishing different things. So really just reaching out to our networks. And then for us in particular, outside of really creating this platform, these key pillars that we want to improve on and how we want to work with the precinct chairs and other activists. And then we were reaching out to the precinct chairs and really listening to their concerns and what they want to see the county party be doing in the future. So really just having those one-on-one conversations. You are correct, it's a very short time frame. It was about a month, and it is a very small group of people that you do have to connect with.
And the Kevin you mentioned is Kevin Patterson, who had office before, and he had organized a lot of the city Democratic clubs throughout Hamilton County. Will he continue to be involved in the party?
We have talked about working together regardless of what the outcome was. We have reached out to him, and we're just in conversation.
So Dayna, staying with you for a moment, as the new chair, what are your priorities, and just basically what are you going to be working on first as the new chair?
Yes, the biggest thing, and this is the thing that we heard from the precinct chairs as well as things that we had observed, is letting people know that Democrats are here. There is this old adage that you have heard often, that I thought I was the only Democrat in Hamilton County. Well, there are more of us. There are a lot of us. So in order to get that message out, is really taking a look at our communications strategy, how we are communicating with Hamilton County residents so that they know that we're here and what we as Democrats specifically in Hamilton County stand for. So really just locking in on that message.
So Ronnie, talk about your duties as the vice chair and your first priorities as a party official. Are you there,
There we
Ronnie?
go.
There you
Yeah,
go.
I'm here. So for me, specifically, my immediate ideas and goals are to one, work on the education piece, almost just a general civics education of what the government is to do and what it is doing for the residents here in Hamilton County, and then also uh, helping people find out how they can be involved, what action items either the local clubs or the county as a whole is looking to get people involved in. On top of that, I want to connect with all of our Democratic elected officials in Hamilton County, from city council members to even the representatives in our Senate and our House that represent either portions or all of Hamilton County, to find out what it is that is coming across their plate and get that information disseminated down to the city clubs, and find out ways that the public here at the local level can be involved, and what they should be ready for or to do, and how they can be engaged as well.
Oh, Dana, when I first moved to Hamilton County in 1991, it was hard to find any Democrats here, much less any in government office. I believe there were none at that time. Now, recently, there have been some successes locally. That would include one member of the Fall Creek Township Board, would also include 2 Fishers City Council seats and 1 Carmel City Council member. So there is evidence of change. But Dana, how do you plan to build on those successes?
Well, we want to, once again, just letting the voters know what we as Democrats stand for and really talking to them and hearing their concerns as well. Locally, we have a lot of similar things that we care about. And we can really just, if we can get to that level of conversation on here in Hamilton County, this is what you care about, this is what you are having these conversations with your family about. We care about that too. Here's how we're going to be able to fight for that. Here are the candidates that we have, our quality candidates who are going to be focused on that at whichever level of government that makes sense for.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little more in a moment. But Ronnie, there's another side to this, because even though there have been gains by Democrats in recent years, Republicans locally are still in firm control of all the government entities in Hamilton County. So Ronnie, tell me how you as Democrats plan to deal with that reality.
Um, that is a fact of reality for us right now, and the key really is internally we want to make sure that we build the infrastructure that makes the candidates that do decide to step up and run feel like they are supported and feel like they have the backing of a strong county party that will be able to assist them however they see fit, whether it is through getting information or volunteers online for them, whether it is helping out financially. We want to make sure that we have a structure within the party that helps out the candidates that do step up to run. We also want to reach out to those and recruit leaders that we know that are here in each of our districts that are, like Dana said, quality and capable and ready to get out there. Those just kind of go in concert. It's like the good candidate is wanting to make sure that there's good structure involved that they're running with. So if we can, get that information out, marry the two, we think that that'll really give us the opportunity to make some more ground.
Well, Dana, let me dig into something you've already alluded to, and so has Ronnie. This is your chance. I think most people know where Democrats stand nationally. There's a Democratic president now. The Democrats have a slim hold on each house of the United States Congress. In Indiana, it's different. Republicans have super majorities. And as we mentioned earlier, in Hamilton County, there are Democrats that have been elected, but the Republicans are in firm control. So, Dayna, my question to you is for people living in Hamilton County, what are the issues that Democrats are focusing on of local nature?
Yes, I think that one thing that we have seen often, especially here on a local level, is really this kind of conversation around making sure that the public is aware of what's going on in the government, how decisions are made, things like that. Just making sure that we understand what's going on, and if something is going on, that it's taking place in the correct way. Another thing that we've seen, especially in Fishers and Carmel, is there's been a lot of discussion on race in the schools. In the beginning of, actually, I believe it was second half of 2020, there was an issue in Carmel about Carmel High School students being bullied in targets of racially targeted comments. In the HSE schools, we had the superintendent instruct the teachers on teaching Black Lives Matter as a political movement. So those types of things are things that we're seeing popping up. Um, I know in Carmel and in Fishers in particular, we have been seeing a lot more about kind of more, for lack of a better term, affordable housing. People are becoming empty nesters. There are young professionals who want to move in to the county, but it is hard to be able to afford certain living conditions based on just the way that everything is structured. So those types of things are things that we have heard, but we do also want to collect more input from the precinct chairs, from the activists, from the Democrats here in the county to make sure that we are talking about the issues that they care about as well.
Well, Ronnie, I'll give you the same chance. Any issues that you would like to highlight that Hamilton County residents should be aware as far as what Democrats are standing for right now?
I mean, honestly, those are a lot of the same issues that I was hearing on the campaign trail last year. The Certainly in 2020, there was a lot of talk around racial justice, and we had, a lot of the same issues that Dayna pointed out in Carmel and Fishers we had here in Westfield, in the Westfield schools, and the students here were the ones that were pushing back against you know, uh, the negative talk and the injustices that were that had happened in the schools, and we want to continue to engage the young people. They seem to be leading the way when it comes to issues like that. But those are things that people that are moving into Hamilton County are pointing out. There is some type of hesitancy, not only just because of how things are structured when it comes to affordable housing, but also people still have a mentality or an idea of what they think is up here, and the pushback that minorities may feel coming up here. And we want to try to one, let those communities know that the Democrat Party is here. We have your back, and we are going to speak to those issues, but also let the general public overall know that this is what truly is the makeup of this community. This is the people that are up here. This is the heart that's up here, and we really are a arms open, big tent, really inclusive, just group of a community, and we wanted to feel that way.
And just so you know, both Ronnie and Dayna are dog lovers. You may hear a dog in the background. That's okay. Yes. They're in their homes, and that's the way we do podcasts these days. Let me go back to Dayna. Dayna, Democrats, just looking at the data, just the numbers, the sheer numbers, and I try to track those in each election. Democrats, frankly, have severely lagged Republicans in their fundraising efforts. I guess the question is, how important is fundraising? How much do you need to fundraise compared to the Republican fundraising in order to be politically competitive in Hamilton County?
Fundraising is very important. Would I say that it is the number one? It's up there, but we know that we can do a lot with not as much money as the Republicans, because we are able to go and have those conversations. That's how Ronnie and I got elected, is just having those conversations and really listening to the voters. And we can expand that when we are able to go and meet face to face again. But also if we're reaching out and calling on the phone, just really hearing and listening to what their concerns are. And that's something that we can do as the party, is focus on things that kind of broadly cross Hamilton County and let the candidates speak to things that specifically target their cities. So really just talking to the voters and hearing what their concerns are and how we can address those concerns.
That leads me to my next question. I'll ask Ronnie to take this one. At the local level, what I have found in Hamilton County, particularly when you get to city elections, but it can to some extent all of them, retail politics is just so important. All the Democrats that have won, certainly even some who didn't, have been out there talking to voters. I think a good example is Samantha DeLong, city council member on the Fishers City Council. She told me that between herself and her campaign manager in their district, they knocked on over 1,000 doors during their campaign. Now, I guess, Ronnie, the question I have for you is, can you find candidates who are going to be willing to put in that kind of effort?
I think that I actually think it's more than possible. I think it's there. We just need to let them know that we have the infrastructure in the back, and we will be developing the infrastructure and the backbone to help support them. We did it in our campaign. I had a core team of 5, including myself, where we touched every corner of District 20. And every time that we were out, we kept getting, we were texting each other, and we were getting, comments from people. And this is during the pandemic, where we were trying to be real cognizant of, the reality, but people were like, it's refreshing to not only see a human being, but also to talk to a candidate or a representative, a surrogate of the campaign, and actually hear them speak directly to issues that were important to them or to their community or to their neighborhood. I believe that there are, like I said, more leaders that are willing to step up to run for office, and they know what it entails. They know that if we just get out there and tell the truth about what is happening in our government, what is happening with what has happened in our local elections, the people will be receptive to that. I mean, the truth is what it is, and we're not going to make anything up. We're just going to tell what it has been, and people will resonate with that. And we saw it happen. It didn't obviously pan out like how we wanted it to for our particular race, but we also saw that those numbers compared to previous campaigns in this particular district, in this race, I mean, there were gains. And my friend Miles did the same thing down in Carmel, and it paid off for him. Sam did an excellent job in her race, and it worked out for her. And the same thing happened for Jocelyn Bear. And so, seeing that there are positive results that can happen on the back end for Democrats here in Hamilton County will encourage more to step up, I believe, because it did for me. Those 3 ran before I did. They were the trailblazers for me. And so, again, even though it didn't work out for me, there's people that have been talking to me already, and I know that it's just going to keep happening. This is just going to keep going.
Let me stay with you for a moment, Ronnie, because I'm going to ask Dayna about this too. How did coronavirus make this last campaign for you? And just repeat again, just for people who don't know what you ran, what office you're running for, and then explain how that whole campaign was complicated by coronavirus.
So the day after my oldest daughter's birthday last year was February 3rd. That was the day that I went downtown and officially, downtown Indianapolis, and officially declared that I was running for the Indiana State Senate seat, District 20. And so that's what I ran for. And literally a month later, the pandemic hit. It was official on St. Patrick's Day, 2 days before my youngest birthday. And so it was like, all right, campaigning just looked differently immediately, like almost overnight. And so we just had to be real imaginative about how we were going to get our message out to people. So instead of, running out there and actually getting to the doors and, meeting with folks face to face, we went totally digital. And, we really just tried to be super engaging with all of our online presence. And it was through, giving people information about the seat itself, about the government structure, about what has happened in the past about within this district, and really just try to be engaging that way. And we saw that was the route that a lot of people were taking, and it ended up being a lot of dialogue between a lot of folks and in our campaign team. And so I think that it made things very challenging in one sense, because we didn't have that one-on-one interaction that I think both the candidates and the public was really wanting. But at the same time, a lot of times folks felt like they were still getting, they were able to get more thoughtful answers from us, because we were able to kind of take the time and really, dissect what they were asking and really give them, concrete answers that they could absolutely fact check us on, and, call us out, or, either, say, hey, I saw something here with, what do you think about this opposing view or this, that? And, it was tough, but, I think it was something that really caused us to really engage with folks.
Yeah, let me go to Dayna on this, because I do think that what Ronnie said about how he had to campaign as a result of coronavirus changed the way he looked at campaigning. And I noticed that a lot of candidates, and I'm sure a lot of Democrats and the other party as well, started using more videos that they placed on a social media platform. So producing a really nice video all of a sudden became an important part of a campaign. Talk about that last campaign and the obstacles you faced in campaigning during COVID.
Well, I love going door to door. That is how I got really got involved, is going door to door and talking to voters. So when the pandemic hit, I was really disappointed that I wasn't able to have those conversations. But we were able to pivot. I helped out almost all of our candidates, I believe, in 2020 in some way, volunteering with them. I did a lot of text banking, so that's really a good way to reach kind of the younger generations and have those conversations, and still be able to have those touch bases throughout the day. If they're not able to talk when you call, then they can follow up, and then you can still get them information that way. And then a lot of the other ways were phone banking. So really kind of just going back to kind of old school ways of reaching out to voters. But that was also an opportunity in that I probably would not have reached out to some of the people in the greater 5th district, as I was helping out with Christina Hale and doing some calling for her. And I had a really great conversation with a voter who hadn't voted in a couple of years, but he was really interested in what was going on, who everyone was going to be running, what they were bringing to the table, and just really, once again, having that conversation. He was a truck driver, and he was concerned about some of the laws that were being passed and how that would impact him and how the candidates would be addressing that. So I was still able to have those connections in that way. But to your point on producing videos and other digital engagement, that was another way. And I think that was a great opportunity to be able to try a lot of different things. We saw a lot of candidates really trying, like you said, with the video, trying different ways to connect to voters, different platforms. I know that there were, I don't think necessarily here in our Hamilton County area, but broadly, there were even candidates on TikTok. So really being able to embrace these new technologies and try new things, I think was a way for us to see that we can pair new strategies with kind of our old boots on the ground, going and talking to voters one-on-one and really being able to connect with voters where they are, whether it's at their homes or digitally.
Let me go back to Ronnie, and I want Dayna to comment on this too. I found a very interesting statistic that in the cities of Carmel and Fishers, each of them, Joe Biden received more votes than the incumbent president. And that is not something I think I have ever seen. So, Ronnie, how do you build on something like that?
I think it just kind of goes back to just highlighting the democratic message and the values, and just letting people know that what people are, I think, are starting to see is that the policies that we back, the issues that we champion are all people focused, and I think that if we just keep pushing those ideals whenever we're talking about any particular issue, we point it back to Hoosiers and how this is going to affect Hoosier families, Hoosier students, Hoosier workers. That's our focus. We are people focused, people centered, because we're people driven. The party itself is driven by so many different people from different backgrounds and ideals, and we all try to work together in concert. Nobody has a monopoly on good ideas, and so we try to work together to really just build a better community for us all.
So, Dayna, what do those numbers tell you, with Joe Biden carrying the cities of Carmel and Fishers in what is considered to be a fairly red area?
I think it shows that voters are receptive to good ideas, or receptive to having options. They want options, right? Seeing that split, especially there at the presidential level, you can see voters want options. They want to hear a different message, have an opportunity to really consider different ways of doing things. And they are willing to listen and willing to potentially go out of their political party if they hear a good idea.
Staying with you, Dayna, for a moment. In 2022, Victoria Sparks, the incumbent 5th District congressional representative, will be facing her first re-election campaign. There'll be a U.S. Senator who will be running for re-election. Both are Republicans. They'll be up for grabs in the state of Indiana. So how does your county organization plan to be involved in those two very important races?
Well, I know that the state party is going to be having discussions with people who are interested in running for both of those positions. So once we are able to kind of see who is running, then we want to be able to have those conversations again. Anyone who's interested in running, just really talking to them, and then giving that kind of what Ronnie was saying, we'll have that infrastructure in place, and just being able to have those resources to, if there is a volunteer that specifically wants to volunteer for the Senate campaign, for example, or for whoever is going to run against Victoria Sparks, then we can say, this is what's going on. We can give you that information and let's connect you with them.
Yes, and Ronnie, I see that there's a new state Democratic chairman. I hope I'm pronouncing his last name right. Is it Mike Schmuel? Did I get that right? Hopefully. He was involved with Pete Buttigieg's campaign. He's now the state Democratic chairperson. Your reaction to that?
I have nothing but positive and just excited optimism. I think it's, you know, kind of a reflection of, you know, just the, you know, energy that seems to be increasingly younger and, you know, just more connected and in tune with, you know, you know, what people are gravitating towards, the ideas that people are gravitating towards. And so I'm excited, and I'm looking forward to working with Mike and the rest of the leadership team.
And Dayna, your reaction to Mike Schmuel taking over the state party?
Yep. So when he was running and he released the kind of the key focuses that he had, it was pretty in line with the things that Ronnie and I were focused on here in Hamilton County and the things that we have really the trends that we've seen. So I was very excited to see that up and down the kind of party chain, including our district chair, our fifth district chair, we all have the same ideas. So we can work together towards that same common goal and really be able to make some good progress and offer some options to the voters and the residents in Hamilton County.
Now, Dana, staying with you for a moment, there will be seats in the General Assembly and some county offices on the ballot in 2022. That's one thing about Indiana. Once we have a presidential election, we have a whole year to kind of take it easy and get ready for the next election cycle. So the next one isn't until 2022 in Indiana. So I guess the question is, with the General Assembly races, with some county offices being up for grabs, how do you and your party plan to begin recruiting candidates for these offices?
It's going to be twofold. We want to hear from the precinct chairs, anyone else who has people in mind, because they know people that I don't. They know people who would be good for running for these positions, and maybe they just need to have a conversation of what that looks like and how you would accomplish that. So, really, just talking to the precinct chairs, other activists. Do you know someone who would be a good fit for one of these roles? And then just having those conversations with them on and realistic conversations of this is what you can likely expect, and here are the resources that we can give to you.
So, Ronnie, your view on trying to recruit candidates for local offices?
I mean, honestly, there are in line with really what Dana just mentioned is, you know, getting out there and speaking with the local precinct chairs and the local leaders, because again, they're the ones that are really connected within the community, knowing who is out there really championing the causes that people are really concerned about or really thinking about in their local areas. And, you know, just get whether it's most likely Dana and I just getting there and having a conversation with them, and again, just saying where they're at and what it is that they're thinking about, and you know, how we can best support them and encourage them. And you know, I think everybody sees that, you know, there are waves that are happening. They might have started off as like small little bumps in the water, but we are pretty confident, and we know that we're heading in the right direction. We've got leaders out there. It's just, I think, just really just having those conversations with folks.
Yeah, staying with you for a moment, Ronnie. Really, if you take a look at the numbers, the voter turnout in Hamilton County, particularly in primary elections, but even general elections, not very good. I understand Democrats don't have a lot to say. You only have one of 3 seats on the county election board. But if you had a say in this, and I'll ask Dana the same question, how would you go about increasing voter turnout in Hamilton County?
We need to make it as easy as possible, honestly. I mean, there shouldn't be anything that prohibits a registered voter to get their vote counted. Um, I would like to see early voting extended. I'd like to see not just the windows, but also the time of days. I would love to see that extended. Um, I would love to see more weekend opportunities. If we can't get a national holiday of it, you know, I think that we should make it as easy as possible. I mean, it is difficult enough as it is to, find, find a sitter, for one child if you've got another child sick on a Tuesday and take off work. Um, but to do that and, not be penalized by your job just to vote, which everybody says is your civic duty to do, but you got to some folks have to, bend over backwards to make it happen and stand in long lines to do it. I think that's unnecessary. We got to make it as easy as possible for people.
So Dayna, any thoughts on voter turnout locally?
Yes, I know in this past election, we actually had 75% of registered voters who turned out, which is great. I think there were a couple of things at play there, but I think moving forward, just making sure that voters have options, because there is that kind of prevalent thought that the primary might be where a lot of options or a lot of decisions are made. But giving them quality options and candidates who are going to fight for them, I think will help turn out voters. But then also being able to connect how their vote matters at the local level. Because oftentimes, and this is even an entirely different subject, but oftentimes the things that you hear about are national because we don't have really a structure on getting local news out. So connecting it to locally, you're voting for your city council members. This is what they can do, and this is how things will change. This is why your vote matters. Just really going back to that education piece and connecting that at the local level, that's where your voice is really, really amplified.
Yeah, and I do the best I can to try to, highlight, political issues locally, but it's hard for one person to do that. But I have other people who work with me. Dayna, with you for a moment, I'm going to ask Ronnie about this too. What people may be surprised to hear this, but serving as an officer for a county party is an unpaid position. And I know how much work goes into it. So talk about, why you wanted this job, even though there's no paid angle to it. And in addition to that, just talk about how you do make a living and anything personal you might want to pass along.
Sure. I wanted this position. It's the same reason why I got into politics, is because I want to better people's lives. I want to help people. And for me, I know that I'm a little bit better at managing people on the back end. So that is really why I wanted to run for this position, is being able to manage our precinct chairs, any of our poll workers, being able to go out and have those discussions with the elections board, any other things like that. That's really kind of where my personality really fits. To your point, I am a project manager. I've been a project manager for about 8 years now. Um, Currently, I'm working in market research, so that is really just doing a lot of surveys, focus groups, talking to associations and business to business clients, and really understanding their client relationships or their member relationships, and taking things on what they see and how that can move the needle and create stronger or weaker relationships. So I do research and I do project management, and that's really why I think this is a great role for me. And I do want to give back to the community. So that's why I'm doing this on a volunteer basis.
Well, I can see how that work could definitely dovetail into politics. There's a lot of symmetry there. So, Ronnie, tell me about yourself and why you took the unpaid position and what you do for a living.
Well, they all kind of really have the same backstory. I like to I like to just take care of the public. I work for the people. I have a background in political science. I've always been kind of interested in policy and policy development, and really how that takes care of how do policies take care of the least of us. So that was the fire that kind of sparked everything. But I professionally am a firefighter, and so that's usually on people's worst day is when I get to see them. And my job is to try to mitigate things and make things as stable, or at least, try to turn it around to a better situation as efficiently as possible. And so this kind of is, kind of a continuation of that. I want to better the lives of the people within my community, because I know ultimately this community and this world is going to be inherited by my children. And so I want it to be a better place for them to inherit.
Okay, we'll wrap. The last question I have for each of you is just this. I tried to ask a number of questions here, but I would like to ask you if there's anything you would like to add before we wrap this up, and I'll ask Dayna to start.
The only thing that I would like to add is just if you think that you are the only Democrat in Hamilton County, you're not. We are here, as has been evidenced by this conversation. If you are interested, please reach out to us via email at hcdpindiana@gmail.com, or just kind of try and find us online. We do have a digital presence, but there are Democrats here in Hamilton County, and we are excited to talk to you.
And Ronnie, your chance. Anything you'd like to add before we go?
I would just like to second that, and I think that it's known that Democrats are here, and I think that it's evident because the Republicans have paid attention to us, and so I think that if you are a Democrat and you're wanting to step up and be involved in things, by all means, like Dayna said, reach out to us. There is definitely a space for you, and so. We look forward to having you, and we look forward to working with everybody over the next 4 years.
You just heard Ronnie Saunders, the Westfield resident who's now serving as the vice chairperson for the Hamilton County Democratic Party. And Dayna Colbert was with us also. She's now the chair of the Hamilton County Democrats. I want to thank both of you for joining me. Thank you for watching and listening. And I would ask you to please be safe and be kind.